Ko rātou mangamanga te maunga, ko iwi piri te moana, ko nā tuki matapau o te waka. Ko patu ke hā me Ngāti Kuta ngā hapu, ko ngāpu i te iwi, ko rāwhiti te whenua, ko rāwhiti te marae, ko Sonny Williams kia ora. For those who don't know me, my name is Sonny Williams. I know what you're thinking, ladies. You're thinking, wow. Sonny Bill. And then you get pregnant. Kia ora whānau. It's nice to be here. My name's Mike King. It's nice to be here in the Bay. Always loved the Bay. You know, as a young fella growing up, my grandfather always said, you know, that the sweetest and juiciest peaches always grow on the best trees down the east coast. And looking around the lovely ladies, I can see that he's right. Well, don't get me wrong, there's a few Granny Smiths here too. But it's nice to be here on the coast. Yeah, I'm glad I've got you fellas out of the rain digging holes and here, that's good, that's cool. Oh, see, he thinks you got out of bed. He doesn't know anything. So what we're here today to talk about, we're here to talk about mental health. Don't worry, we're not going to be talking about depression or anxiety or going into any prescriptions of what mental health is. If we did that, it would be really boring. It would be so boring that if you're not depressed now, you will be by the time I finish. So what I'll do is I will talk you through my mental health ups and downs along the way. Some of you fellas might recognise yourself in my story, and by the end you'll have a few tools to help you get to a better place. For those of you who got no problems at all, well, you might recognise a friend or a whānau member in my story, and by the end you'll have some tools to get to a better place. And for those of you with no friends, just a funny story. So my name is Mike King. I'm a former stand-up comedian. I was a stand-up comedian for over 20 years. Pretty cool job for a Māori boy, you know. Stand-up comedy. In my last job, you know, my last life, I stood on the stage, swore at white people and got paid for it. It's every Māori's dream job. Only one other Māori fellow I know who does this for a living. His name's Honi Harawira. I'm kidding, he lost his job. It's just me. My style of comedy, I wasn't a clever comedian. You know, I didn't do impersonations or anything like that. I'd class myself as a Kiwi comedian, very judgmental. You know, I just find things I didn't like, people I hated, and smashed them. That's the Kiwi way. How I came across that style of comedy will become a bit more apparent as I share more of my story with you. So most people know me as a really confident, brash, arrogant, foul-mouthed stand-up comedian. What most people don't know about me is I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic, and I've had self-esteem issues for most of my life. When I talk about self-esteem too, I want to make it clear. When I talk about self-esteem, I talk about self-esteem from our kids' perspective. How many people got kids? Kids? Yep. So when I talk about self-esteem from our kids' perspective, self-esteem to our kids is 30% how I feel about myself, and 70% how I think other people see me. So 30% how I see myself, 70% how I think other people see me. Why is this important? Because I need you to know that your kids care more about what other people think about them than they care about themselves. Other people have more influence over them than they have over their own behavior. Why that is, well, I'll share a bit more of that with you a bit later in my story. So, I had major self-esteem issues. For me, you know, my self-esteem issues were all around not thinking I was good enough, not thinking I was worthy enough. Always wanted my old man to be proud of me. Always wanted my old man to go, "That's my boy," you know. And I never felt like I was good enough for my old man. My old man never said to me, "That's my boy." My old man was like, "Yeah, that's my picture." And I said, "Yeah," you know. So I never felt like I was good enough for him. I never felt like, that anything I did was ever going to be good enough. So I used to beat myself up a lot. The other reason I didn't like myself when I was growing up was when I was growing up, I was an ugly child. I know it's hard to believe looking at me now. When I was coming up, man, I was ugly, seriously. 4'11", buck teeth, big ears, had a monstrous head, man. But when I was born with this head. I didn't have a beard, that would be weird, the beard came later, but you imagine this big head on a little bubba's body. That's a big head. I knew I had a big head on the day I was born, because when I came out of my mother, the doctor went, this fella got a big head. So I always had this shame around how I looked. Anyone else here have body issues? Anyone not like the way they look? Thank you. Thank you very much. Beautiful people. For me, you're the most amazing people in the room. Why? You're the bravest people in the room. Why? Because you make yourself vulnerable. Putting your hand up and saying that you have body issues in a room full of people that you know, maybe friends, maybe enemies. You make yourself vulnerable and you open yourself up. So in order to do that, it takes a lot of guts. So you have my utmost respect and I love you for that. Thank you so much. For the rest of you fellas who didn't put your hands up, some of you motherfuckers should have probably put your hands up. Like, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, maybe have a look in the mirror. You probably should have put your hands up. I was teased a lot when I was at school. How many people were teased at school? I was bullied at school. How many people were bullied at school? I was a bully in school. How many people were bullies in school? Again, putting your hand up to that, that's a brave thing to do in today's society, especially the way we treat bullies. I think what we're doing around bullying now is completely wrong. Our strategy now with bullies is let's bully the bully. Let's bully the bully. Let's kick the bully out. Let's give the bully PD. Let's give let's judge the bully. People need to understand that behavior is one thing, but it's about time we started asking what drives the behavior. Why are people like this? Because here's what I know. Bullies bully because they're being bullied. And bullies want exactly the same thing as the people they're bullying. They just want to be loved. They just want to be connected. They want to be liked. They want to be loved. Sadly, for most bullies in their house, love looks like a punch in the face. Love looks like angry words. Love looks like constantly being put down. And our solution to that is to repeat and put down again. Maybe if we start throwing some love at the problem. Maybe if we start reconnecting these disconnected people and making them feel part of our community and empowering them to make a difference, then things will be different. And, by allowing people to acknowledge that they have this behavior, that means once you've acknowledged it, you can change it. But in order to get people to acknowledge it, we've got to have open hearts, not angry judgment, and allow people to do that. When I was coming up, I was teased mercilessly at school. I was bullied at school. My nickname at school? Head. Not for real. Some people say, you sure wasn't big head? Didn't need the big. When I came around the corner, it was just my head. A couple of minutes later, my body would join my head. So all the kids used to tease me. So in order not to get teased, I used to use my cunning moldiness. What I used to do is I used to sit outside the staff room. No one pick on you outside the staff room. And might get caught. I had one friend who used to sit there with me. His name was Nigel. That was his real name. I don't know what was wrong with Nigel. He was a PG fellow. I had a big head. I think Nigel had big feet. And most of the time we talk. We have conversations, but most of the time I have conversations with myself. How many people have conversations with themselves? Hands up, keep them up. Hands up, keep them up. There will be a test. There will be a test. Hands up. Hands up. You have conversations with yourself. If you have conversations with yourself, put your hand up. Thank you. Cassie. What's your name, bro?
Alan.
Alan, how you, man? Good to see you, cousin. I noticed when I said put your hand up, you have conversations with yourself, not only didn't you put your hand up, you folded your hands. You folded your hands like, nah, babe, I don't have any conversation with myself. You don't have conversation with yourself, Alan? No. Guarantee you're having a conversation with yourself right now. Guarantee you're sitting there going, damn, I should have put my hand up. Now everyone looking at me. Alan, bro, brother. Brother, everyone have conversations with themselves, bro. Everyone have conversations with themselves. White people call it thinking. You think, hey, bro? Yeah, I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking that fellow on the stage, asshole. Everyone think. Everyone think. That's all a conversation with yourself is. It's thinking. Every time you think, that's a See, we got this perception that people who speak to themselves are swatting away imaginary flies and headbutting a wall going, Daryl did it, Daryl did it, Daryl did it. A conversation with yourself is just thinking. That's all it is. But the difference between confident people and people with good self-esteem, how they think, and people with no self-esteem, is completely different. So every one of us, we've got two voices in our head. Every single one. It's not voices, it's a metaphor to describe our overthinking. So we got the devil and we got the angel. I'm not religious, it's just a metaphor again to allow you to know what these two voices do. See, for me, the devil put me down, the angel will lift me up. Example, I might be walking along sometime and I trip over in front of a whole lot of people and all the brothers start laughing, and my devil goes, see, you made a dick of yourself, man. You made a dick of yourself. Then my angel will jump in and go, oh, you didn't make that dick of yourself. See, my angel, my mother. You didn't make a dick of yourself. You're a good boy. A good boy. They're not laughing at you. That's my mum. I don't know why she's got that English accent. Well, she's Māori, you know. I think she watches too much Coronation Street. But she's the one that lifted me up. And the other boys put me down. How many people here call themselves confident? You confident people? Confident? Yep. So, Alan, you're a confident fellow, right? Being a confident person, confident people like to connect with other people. That's what confident humans are. Animals, we're pack animals. We like connecting with people. So when Alan walked into a room, his conversation might be, wow, there's lots of interesting people here today. Wonder how, hey, Cassie, what's your name? Brother, what's your name? Joe. Oh, who's your father? No, bro, where do you live? How are we connected, man? Oh, really? You know those fellas? I know those fellas. You like, well, so we're always looking to connect, right? How are we connected? That's what confident people want to know. How are we connected? When I walk into rooms, I got no confidence, so I'm never walking in looking to connect with people. I'm always walking into rooms looking for the dude that doesn't like me. I walk into rooms, and my devil goes, oh yeah, man, someone here hates you. Someone here hates you, man. Oh, no one hates you. You're a good person. Nah, man, someone here hates you, bro. Everyone always hates on you, man. There's someone here. I'm going to find that something. He's here somewhere. He's here somewhere. There he is. It's Alan. I'm always second guessing the stuff that I'm doing. You know, some days I have such a bad day and I'm beating myself up so much, I'm walking down the road, the dog will look at me funny and my devil will go, see, even the dog hates you. How many people have conversations like that with themselves and second guess the decisions that they make sometimes? Hands up if you have those conversations. Hands straight up, hands straight up, hands straight up, hands straight up, straight up. You never had a conversation with yourself like that ever? Ever? Hands up, brother, hands up, brother, hands up, please. Hands up, hands up. You had that conversation, mofo. Put your goddamn hand up. Put your hand up. Everyone put their hand up. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Seriously, put them up straight up, because I know you're having that conversation right now. Put your hand up, bro. Put your hand up. 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 Put your hands up. Seriously, put your hands up. Put your hands up. I'll tell you why. You need to to put your hand up. Put your hand up. Put your hand up. You need to put your hand up, bro. Put your hand up. Come on, put your hand up. No shame. No shame, bro. No shame. Look, keep your hand up. Look around. Keep your hand up. Look around. Look around, man. Look around. We're the normal ones. Look at them. Look at them. We're the normal ones. We are the normal ones. Everyone have those conversations, baby. You know, there's so much there's so much shame around this. We shouldn't be ashamed of this, and we shouldn't hide it either. I tell you what, because every time we hide this stuff from our kids, we have these conversations with them on a daily basis. These kids have these conversations with them on a daily basis. Because we're so staunch and we don't ever talk about it, all we're teaching these kids is to keep secrets. All we're teaching these kids is they're the weird ones. None of the people that I look up to, none of my heroes have those conversations with themselves. None of my heroes second guess themselves. It must just be me. It must just be me. You want to know why we got such a high rate of suicide among our tamariki? This is it. That staunch attitude that we all got. That holding on to, oh, I've got to do this because this is what I've been taught, is bullshit. That's bullshit. And it's killing our kids. It has to stop. We've got to be honest, man. You know, we keep asking ourselves, why are my kids not talking to me? Why are my kids not talking to me about my problems? You fellas don't talk. None of you talk. You all sit there and be staunch all day, like myself included. And that's what's killing our kids. We got to start role modeling the behavior that we want our kids to do. You want your kids to talk about their stuff, man, you got to talk about your stuff. We've got this myth going around that there's shame in admitting there's stuff going wrong. There's no shame in it, man. We've got to role model good behavior for these kids. I used to sit outside our staff room and beat myself up all the time, man. You're useless, you're hopeless. And I look at all the cool kids, man. I loved the cool kids when I was at school, man. I loved them. Why? Because they had all of the girls, they had all of the conversations going on. They were always laughing, everything. So, what's your name? Cuts down the back in the glasses. Nick! Look at you, you big, sexy hunk of meat. You, look at you. Wow, well, just mate. If I was that way, you'd be the man. You'd be the man, brother. Would be the man, you sexy hunk of human being, you. I used to look at people like you, bro, because you're like, to me, you're confident, you're good looking. So I used to look at people like you sitting outside the staff room and go, oh man, Nick's so cool. It'd be so cool to be like Nick, my angel. Why don't you introduce yourself, Michael? Why don't you go introduce yourself to Nick, my devil? Shut up. Introduce yourself to Nick, he's too cool for you. Why not? Why not? You're a good person, you're a good person. You smile, your big smile, and Nick was like, really? You seen the size of your head? There's no fat heads in Nick's group, man, just shut up. 2 years I sat outside that staff room, Nick, 2 whole years, brother. Like, not the whole time, I went home after school, had a shower. I didn't stay there on the weekend, at lunchtime and playtime. 2 years later, I discovered I was funny. I didn't know I was funny. I fell into funny by accident. What happened was my friend Nigel told a joke in front of the school. No one laughed. Bully kids heard. And they were bullying him to make them tell a joke again so they could laugh at him. As they were bullying him, I jumped in, told the same joke, told exactly the same joke. Only this time, everybody laughed. Everyone laughed. Greatest day of my life, man. For real, bro. We got, you know, we all know what it's like to be on the outside of something and then suddenly to be invited in, man. I got this warm flow through me. It was like the greatest feeling I ever had. And I immediately associated people laughing with people liking me. And all I wanted to do from that day forward was to make people laugh, man, because it made me feel good about myself. Day one of my comedy career was that day. I found out later on that was day one of my downfall. Why? Because that was the first day that I started to get my self-esteem from the approval of other people. That was the first day that I started to get my confidence from the approval of other people. Why did I say that twice? Because I need you to know that 90% of your kids, 90% of your kids are getting their self-esteem from the approval of other people. Why? Because they don't feel like they're getting their self-esteem approved by the significant adults in their house. They don't think that they meet your approval. Why? Well, in order to build up someone's self-esteem, in order to value someone's thoughts and opinions, young people's thoughts and opinions takes time. So there's two things our kids want. It's not my opinion. This is what 200,000 kids up and down the country have told me, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of economics, country, rural. Kids are all saying the same thing. They want two things. One, they want to be loved. My generation seems to think love is the most important thing you can give to kids. No kid can live without love. I call BS on that one. There are hundreds of thousands of kids living out in Aotearoa right now without 1 ounce of love in their life. Not only no love, they're living with family violence, they're living with psychological violence, they're living with familial sexual abuse, they are living with community sexual abuse. They are living with a poverty, not just a poverty of food either, a poverty of spirit, a poverty of love, a poverty of empathy, and they're thriving. They're thriving, man. Our kids are amazing. The number one thing our kids want is they want to know that their thoughts and opinions matter to us. They want to know that we care about their thoughts and opinions. But in order to do that, you've got to give time. And that's what our generation are most poor of, time. Even if you've got no work, you've always got something going on in your head, and we're always too busy to give time. Always too busy.